The historical texts that eventually formed the Bible were compiled by a highly literate, elite class of authors known as royal scribes. These men operated in the highest tiers of ancient society. Placed in the inner circles of kings, priests, and military leaders, they managed the bureaucratic framework of the monarchy from within fortified urban centers. Because of their position, the scribes recorded the matters most pressing to the crown: legal decrees, royal correspondence, extensive historical archives, and the high theology laws that govern temple worship. By meticulously documenting the affairs of the urban elite, they left behind a massive blind spot. Over 90% of the ancient Israelite population lived in rural clans, far outside the palace walls, and their lives received almost no representation in the official written record. The written word gives us the theology and the politics of the time. To understand how the vast majority of the population actually survived, we have to bypass the text and look directly into the dirt. Finding the everyday people of ancient Israel requires archaeologists to dig past the major urban centers, the tells, and excavate the rural hinterland. Here, researchers rely on a different kind of archive. They document scattered fieldstones, primitive foundations, and broken pottery to reconstruct the daily routines of isolated families. While parchment preserves the theological ideals of the era, the soil captures the unwritten, visceral reality of ancient survival. The focal point for understanding this rural existence is the standard four-room house. Researchers often use a hypothetical family, let's call them the Barakiyahu family, to map out how these confined spaces functioned. Constructed from fieldstones and mud bricks, these homes were tight. An extended family shared the space, with each person allotted just 80 square feet. The layout forced intense proximity between humans and livestock. In winter, animals were kept inside the central rooms, providing necessary warmth. Living indoors with animals carried severe hygienic consequences. The cobbled floors were covered in straw to drain liquid animal waste, creating a breeding ground for mosquitoes, fleas, and infectious diseases. The archaeological record confirms this environment. Excavations of latrines have yielded indestructible tapeworm egg casings, while ancient combs still hold the remains of lice. Parasites were a constant, unavoidable element of the living space. The four-room house illustrates a life defined by physical exhaustion, tight, cramped living quarters, and a grinding struggle against illness. Subsistence required back-breaking agricultural labor from every family member. Women managed heavy food production tasks like grain grinding and water hauling, while simultaneously spending up to half their lifespan in pregnancy, childbirth, and nursing. This extreme vulnerability to drought, famine, and disease generated a specific religious worldview. Anthropologists term it numinous unease, a pervasive sense of awe and deep uncertainty regarding the intentions of the divine. For the rural peasant, religion was entirely focused on practical survival. Devotion was expressed through urgent pleas for adequate rainfall, a successful harvest, and protection from plagues, far removed from the abstract laws debated in the royal courts. Faith in the hinterland was a desperate necessity, an attempt to bring order and predictability to a pre-industrial world that constantly threatened to wipe them out. The intellectual bubble of the royal scribe in Jerusalem, writing decrees on parchment in the king's court, stands in sharp contrast to the smoke-filled, exhausting reality of the common farmer working up a salt grinding stone. We rely on the scribes. Their meticulous record-keeping preserved the cultural legacy, the politics, and the laws that give us our foundational understanding of ancient Israel. But the unwritten story, extracted from cracked field stones, from pollen samples, and arthritic bones, provides the most accurate, humanizing picture of how those people actually lived. Complete history requires a marriage of the written word and the physical artifact. The written text gives us the meaning, while the dirt gives us the reality.